Annie Jakos, and welcome to Connecting Africa, the monthly show in which we feature Africa's most innovative leaders. And this month I'm coming to you from the site of Expo 2020 in Dubai. Opportunity, innovation and connectivity are buzzwords here, and business leaders are discussing how Africa's digital transformation can play a key role in unlocking Africa's true potential. Multinational IT giant IBM has been involved in tech innovation in Africa for almost 100 years. I sat down with the first ever African female regional head to discuss why digital innovation matters for business.
In the next 10 years, every organization is going to be a technology company, because technology is at the forefront, is the bedrock of innovation right now.
So what is IBM working on? What projects are you involved in on the continent?
We are at the forefront of driving digital transformation for banks, for government, for all institutions. Even during the COVID, we worked with the government in South Africa to devise a solution that helped to identify where the hotspots are. We are working on sustainable farming, help farmers plant sensors in their farms that collects data and helps them to make informed decisions. We're talking about intelligence, we're talking about interconnectedness, we're talking about instrumentation. All of that, it's technology that is driving that.
The reality is internet penetration is still sitting only at 40%. Can we talk comfortably about digital transformation when access to internet is still not where it should be?
So I totally agree with you, but you know, whenever I get asked this question, I also pose the question that I think we are overlooking what we are actually currently doing on the continent. We have 816 million connected SIMs on the continent. And this is going to increase to 1 billion in the next 4 years.
It's the telco link that you're focusing on.
Yes, but that is connectivity. If you have your SIM card connected, you are connected, right? So we have to look at the penetration of smartphones onto the continent as well, and that is also on the rise.
I want to take you to a scenario. In a village in the middle of the hills in Rwanda outside Kigali is a mother who only has a cell phone that she shares with a group of other mothers, and it's an analog phone. How do we connect her? How do we bridge the digital divide on the continent?
So that's a great question. So we actually are developing apps that even with analog phones, you can still tap into this technology. There are shortcodes for analog phones. So Africa development is not focused on just the cities. We are looking at the people that are in the remote areas. We are looking at how we bank them. We are looking at how we include them in the financial sector. We are looking at how they become part of this digital transformation. And there's a big agenda that is going on to ensure that happens.
We stick to technology after the break as we speak to one of the world's leading tech investors.
Welcome back. African entrepreneurship and ingenuity can be seen all over Expo 2020, and one of the most exciting companies supporting Africa's budding tech sector is South African internet group Naspers. From its headquarters in Cape Town, the internet investor is expanding its portfolio beyond publishing and online retail and focused now on small-scale startups dreaming of continent-wide expansion.
What we are seeing here in South Africa is that we can invest in a huge variety of businesses. We're continuously looking for the best transactions to back. Why? Because we're looking for businesses that are not just there for us to invest into, but businesses that actually have the capacity to be scaled globally.
Do you scout for new businesses in all your markets?
Absolutely.
So you've got your pulse on the most exciting innovations, right?
Yes. I think Africa's USP when it comes to technology is the entrepreneurial level that we have on the continent.
The hustle, right?
100%.
The resilience and ability to find solutions to problems without any resources.
That's it. That resilience, because that's what brings, that's what keeps an entrepreneur continuously growing. It's that ability to remain resilient.
So tell me about the Foundry scheme, how big it is,
Yeah.
and then what's the plan? Because what you're saying here is you want to invest in businesses that are scalable. You want to take business global and turn them into mega multinationals.
100%. We've got capital of 1.4 billion rand at the moment to invest, and we've invested 400 million rands of that into 7 different digital businesses across the spectrum.
Let's talk about the Continental Free Trade Area and how technology can actually help it become successful.
When you talk about the African Free Trade Agreement, you're talking about an economy that is the size of $3.4 trillion. And so that is significant value for investors to be able to participate in. And so we welcome the opportunity to be able to invest alongside other international investors in the African economy.
Cape Town, aka the tech capital of Africa, is brimming with investment opportunities with a thriving ecosystem of over 550 tech companies and counting.
I'm Percy Kabeya, founder and CEO of the Student Hub. I'm connecting Africa by empowering students with industry skills.
Founded in 2015, the Student Hub is an ed-tech startup supported by NASPAR's Foundry.
The reason why the Student Hub exists is because we want to make education accessible to the masses and reduce the cost of education while ensuring that there is a higher success rate of students, whether it's through entrepreneurship or in the job market. That's the world we want to create.
But just how do you create a new world? Well, with an app, of course.
The Student Hub is this beautiful merger of education technology, HR technology, and the gig economy. Now with the Student Hub, we make it possible for whatever that's happening in the workspace to have a direct impact and influence in what is happening in the classroom. So now education institutions can improve their content, improve their qualification based on the realities that students currently face in the workspace.
Today, Kabeya says they are operational in just over half of South Africa, connecting almost 30,000 students to their support team.
We've got this end-to-end platform that gives us all the data on student interaction. So we monitor the educators, we monitor the students, we're working the head of faculties, and then the team here basically provide that insight and support to all our various users. So whenever students do not complete lessons on time, when pass rate is low, the team that you see here is a team that engages with the various stakeholders, ensuring that they follow best practices.
With a strong focus on vocational institutions, the Student Hub is on track to expand their footprint across all of South Africa and beyond.
I think education sets the foundation of any economy in the world. And by defining or redefining the education landscape, we can determine the trajectory of the continent.
And from EdTech to FinTech, just a few kilometers away, another NASPAR's Foundry startup is gaining traction.
So for me, what is most enjoyable about working in the technology field is the pace of change. And I've been in technology for quite some time, and I think it's always so interesting in terms of the improvements that you can make in the daily lives of people, specifically in relation to payments technology and financial inclusivity.
My name is Karen Addison and I am the CEO of PayU South Africa.
Pay is an online payment service provider. We form part of the fintech arm of NASPA's process. We are in 50 emerging economies across the world, from Latin America, India, Central Eastern Europe, and Africa.
PayU employs over 3,000 people globally, representing 43 different nationalities, and in Africa, they have a physical presence in South Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, and are busy putting down roots in Ghana.
Africa is so diverse and is so interesting and is moving at such a fast pace. And we can really see that by the kind of investment that is now coming into other African countries. I think what is really going to be very interesting is how we start to make changes to the infrastructure, start to reduce things like data costs, and then how we move forward from an open banking perspective.
According to PayU, they offer around 400 different types of payment methods. as part of their commitment to financial inclusivity.
We also offer credit solutions to merchants and consumers that are underserved. We are large tech investors. We invested about 1 billion in tech from 2016. We also offer things like ease of integration and support for cross-border access to many of our merchants, specifically in Africa. So you have access into a single platform, and once you're on that platform, you now have access into the 50 markets that we're in.
And this all helps to develop small businesses too.
The way PayU helps grow SMBs on the continent is by taking many of the pain points away. So we make ease of integration quite easy for them. We ensure that we have a diverse range of payment methods that allows them access to different types of consumers. We also partner with many technology businesses to provide the diverse set of payment methods. So not only are we enabling our merchants, we're also enabling technology entrepreneurs on the continent.
Watch this space. I'm looking forward to seeing how the South African and African tech startup space evolves over the next few years. Hi, I'm Eleni Jarkas, and this is Connecting Africa, and I'm at the site of Expo 2020 in Dubai, where for the first time ever in 170 years of World Expos, every single African country is represented. And here at the Kenyan Pavilion, it's dedicated to showcasing and highlighting the country's most successful industries. Now, flowers are Kenya's second largest export after tea, and despite demand destruction and supply chain disruption because of the pandemic, flower exports increased to almost $1 billion in 2020.
Welcome to the heart of Africa's flower industry. Kenya is the third highest cut flower producing nation in the world, and as growers become larger and stronger, the country's influence is spreading across the region.
We have seen an expansion in Ethiopia, Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda. You will find that Kenya's presence, both in terms of skills that we export to some of these countries that are now trying to also grow cut flowers, but also in terms of investment, Kenya will also always play a central place. You will see a lot of consolidation and acquisitions, even in those countries, by a lot of Kenyan investors.
Headquartered in Kenya's fertile highlands, Margin Power runs 16 production sites across Kenya, Tanzania, Ethiopia and Zimbabwe, producing around 260 million stems a year.
We specialize in summer flowers, and I'd say that we're the biggest summer flower grower out of Africa, certainly in terms of the varieties that we bring. We bring 100 different products into the market. Over the last 3 to 5 years, we've scaled up both horizontally, so expanding the production areas across Africa, and also vertically, building a strategic alliance with the marketplace. Basically what we see is happening in the industry here is the bigger getting bigger, driving more efficiencies.
The company run their farms according to the Japanese Kaizen method, which they call Hamuka. This ancient business philosophy focuses on employees, helping the company to continuously improve.
There is a big difference, because when you're working under Hamuka, you utilize the potential, the mind of people. You can imagine we have almost 4,000 employees, and everybody has a brain. So that brain brings an idea. So there is a big difference when you're working with Hamuka, because you listen, you give people time to express themselves.
After initial COVID disruptions, Kenya's flower market has rebounded.
It's interesting, or let me say ironical, that we did more sales in 2020 than 2019. I always tell people that and say, how did that happen?
What we saw is that the demand picked up, and what I think we saw is as people went into lockdown, into furlough, they had some money in their pockets, they were sitting at home, and actually the demand for flowers picked up very nicely. So right now we're seeing very strong demand across the industry for flowers, but we're having a lot of constraints on the logistics side, getting flowers, moving flowers from Africa into Europe.
With ongoing global logistics problems, Fernandez says growers' air freight costs are around 40% higher than before COVID. These flowers will be exported to the Dutch flower auction, as well as clients as far afield as Japan and Australia.
What we're really trying to do is to bring to the florist, wherever they are in the world, something different, something new, something that is going to make their design go wow. Because we're seeing that with the consolidation in the industry, that the florist is losing a lot of the range of products is being shrunk.
Whilst Africa's domestic market remains small, there's hope the continental free trade area can help ease cross-border sales.
If we can move our export from the current $1 billion probably to $1.1 billion out of just an expansion within Africa, that is really, really huge, especially on a smaller economy like Kenya, but also in terms of creation of extra jobs and employment opportunities and other micro economies that we always build around where we produce. That will be a plus for us because we believe that trade must be homegrown.
Hi again. The pandemic bolstered calls for countries to jumpstart local production of essential goods, and Africa made waves within the pharmaceutical sector. In Senegal, the country started producing its own COVID-19 test kits, and in Kenya, pharmaceutical company Dawa Life Sciences received a $2.4 million grant to help develop the country's local vaccine ecosystem.
Healthcare is critical for a nation's growth. I'm not just talking about the medicines, but the expertise to manufacture the medicines. The technologies have to be in country, as well as having enough healthcare workers, which means it's a complete end-to-end, right? So everything from manufacturing to delivery of the healthcare at its point of need, as well as the ecosystem, regulatory, etc. All that has to be in place. And I'm very passionate in terms of building that up.
Headquartered in Nairobi, Kenya, Dawa Life Sciences manufactures and distributes pharmaceuticals, animal medicine and chemicals in 25 markets on the continent.
We have the largest pharmaceutical manufacturing sector in East and Central Africa. So it provides that opportunity for increased intra-Africa trade, and that then translates to improved livelihoods, because if we're able to export more, produce more within the continent, we can then create jobs, we can then harness the natural resources in the continent, value add those resources, and improve revenues in our countries.
Starting life as a net importer of pharmaceuticals in 1994, Dawa has reinvented itself as a manufacturer and exporter of 100 million treatments each year.
Dawa Life Sciences will be one of the largest pharmaceutical organizations within East Africa. We're talking of revenues of 50 to 60 million USD. We're talking of manpower of 800 plus. We're talking of exporting to about 26 different countries, and we hope to invest at least about $25 million in the next 3 years, where we want to increase our capacity and bring in new investment on the tablet, capsule and ointment sections with some liquid enhancement.
The COVID-19 pandemic also ignited the company's interest in vaccine development, and they've started working with local research institutions to develop vaccines for the continent.
We recognize that vaccine manufacturing is something that we as a country and a region, we needed, and this was before COVID came. What COVID did was to sharpen the minds and really bring this to the fore to say we need to manufacture the vaccines. I think it's much more efficient if those vaccines for African diseases are manufactured actually here in Africa. It improves obviously in accessibility as well as the cost. It would be a massive stepping stone, not just for the life sciences, not just for Kenya, but for Kenya as a whole, right? And what is interesting, and for me what I'm really passionate about, is you then get to decide as a country and as a region which vaccines are priority, because really you're catering for your own needs.
Ngibioni says they're prioritizing markets where quality medicines are less accessible.
That is one of the reasons we are going into West Africa. And from a business point of view, it makes a lot of sense to be exporting to West Africa. The one thing that I think has an advantage as a Kenyan company is Kenya Airways, which basically flies into multiple cities across the West. So our medicines would be able to get into the destination cities within a day. So that for us is a big advantage.
One of the biggest hurdles for increasing cross-border trade of pharmaceuticals has been the high regulatory costs, but there are plans afoot for greater harmonization.
If a pharmaceutical producer in Egypt and you wanted to sell your drugs into Kenya or Uganda or Tanzania, we need an African Medical Association to be able to harmonize this drug so that everybody can buy them. So we need a harmonization platform that says, if I buy this drug, there's a central agency that has, approved it, and so it's fine to use whether it's in Kenya or Angola or Lesotho. I think these are some of the things we need to put in place, and business needs to work with us on that.
The new Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement is a huge potential for growth of exports, because it has the ability to, first of all, create very clear tariff offers and rules of origin that enable us to access these markets.
Mohindra and his team are aiming to expand their African footprint in the coming years.
Our international business is at about 25 to 30% of our total turnover, so we want to grow it to at least 60%. So from just a local, homegrown Kenyan entity, we want to become a Pan-African reference point.
As the continent opens up like never before, there's a plethora of opportunities, and we've enjoyed speaking to some of the business leaders set to make the most of this new and exciting era. If you'd like to hear more on their stories and business leaders like them, you can head over to our website. Until next time, stay connected.